What's up?
Eating some oatmeal. What's up?
Well, we need keys for the van outside, please.
The van.
Thank you. The van. Alright, looks like the 06 Chrysler Town and Country. Van slash truck. And it needs an oil pan. I told him last time we did an oil change on it, you need an oil pan. However, whoa dude. He said the inspection's due this month and the money light's on and it runs like poo. And it is skipping. Oh, she got a little hitch in her giddy up. So, yeah. See if it's got a clear flood mode here. Yeah, it sounds pretty steady. The starter sounds pretty terrible, but the cadence of the engine sounds pretty steady. So hopefully we're just dealing with, wait for this guy to move here. Hopefully we're just dealing with a bad ignition coil. See if we can't flash codes out of it. P0302 it says. 522 it says. And done. So we have a P0522 and a P0302. Let's pull her inside, boys. What's 522? Is that an oil pressure sensor code? 522. 302 cylinder 2 misfire. I know that. So we're probably not. Well, we might be dealing with a bad coil, I guess. I guess I could share the free tip with you. Flash the codes out of a lot of Chryslers. Just key on 3 times. So 1, 2, 3, and then we'll get our codes down here. So kind of a quick and dirty. Don't know what years it covers, but it covers a lot of Chryslers. So just try it. It'll work or it won't. Boom. So we know one of our codes is a cylinder 2 misfire. So let's just see if we have a bad ignition coil. It looks like original wires on this little fella. They are Mopar wires and they're all numbered. Spark plugs I think look super rusty. Let me get a flashlight here. So probably all original stuff here. Oh yeah, they are wicked rusty. You get open Pandora's box touching those things. So let's see if we have spark on number 2. So we'll get our test light ready so we don't get zapped, just in case. We'll go like that. We'll see if we have spark. Okay, you stand by. We have no spark, or very little. I can just barely get it to spark to the test light, so. Alright, let's shut her down. Alright, so that tells us we have a bad ignition coil, right? But Eric, you didn't check the driver circuit. Well, we don't have a misfire on cylinder number 5, which is the companion for number 2. So that tells me that the driver circuit's good because there's only 3 drivers in this computer. It fires 3 and 6, 1 and 4, and 2 and 5. If I had no spark on number 5, I would be concerned about an input to the ignition coil. But how do you know you have spark on number 5? Just because you have a code, don't have a code, doesn't mean you don't have spark. That's a good point. I'm glad you asked. So that's why we're going to check number 5 in the same fashion. We're going to pull the wire back and we're going to see if it jumps spark to our test light. Which I assume it does because it sounds like it's only a single cylinder miss. So let's start it back up. Alright, get your test light ready so you don't get zapped. Alright, hear that guys? I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but hopefully you can hear it. We've got really good spark on the number 5 cylinder. So let's shut her down. Alright, so that's good. That tells us that we have a bad ignition coil. Hopefully everybody understands that. There's no need to check any wires going to the coil because we know we have power. So we got 4 wires there. We have a power and we have 3 driver circuits. And like I say, we know the driver is good because the companion on a waste spark system is sparking. So we just have a bad coil. However, we do have all the OG plugs and wires. And like I say, you could really open Pandora's box getting these suckers out. They are rusted to oblivion here. I'll show you what they look like. Hopefully we can do it without breaking the wire here. We'll go for the one that's not sparking. So there they are. We'll zoom in and hex. Yeah, there is no more hex there, fella. That's just a round blob. Just for grins and giggles, I will stick a 5/8 socket on there, make sure I'm not being deceived by a little surface rust, which is a possibility. Fortunately, the valve cover's leaking here in the middle, so it looks like those plugs might come out in the middle there. It does feel like a 5/8 socket does slip over that and fit it. Knock some of that rust off there. Because this is an easy one to get to, let's give it a little push. Just out of curiosity. Because this probably has resistor spark plugs in it. Oh, that is turning, folks. Even though it is a blob. Yeah, that is turning. So let's take it out all the way to have a little gander here. I'm sure they're super worn. It's got 126K on it. Comes right out. Don't want to get anything down in the hole. Let's get a blow nozzle. Be respectful here. There's that. We're going all the way. Oh, she's wore right out, fella. The gap is super thick. Of course, this plug's wet because it's not firing, but I think this is probably the worst of the worst. I mean, it looks pretty cruddy. And it did come out, so I think we're gonna recommend your classic spark plugs and ignition coil. This one over here on the number 6 is looking rough. Super rough. Before we go any further, I don't know what they're looking like on the back, but I can't imagine they're any worse than on the front. Let's see what that 522 code is. I think that's an oil pressure sending unit code. And that thing's looking just about as rusty as the spark plugs. When I initially started it, I didn't show you guys on the dash, the oil light was on. But then when I started the second time, it was off. So if that is an oil pressure sending unit code, we probably have a bad oil pressure sending unit. Would be my assumption based on when I initially started it. Just because that light was on, I was going to show you guys that observation, but I had shut the vehicle off pretty quick. He does have a leaky oil pan. Let's see if it has any oil in it. I assume there is. Yes, and it is full, but it looks pretty darn clean. So I'm assuming that he probably just filled it up because it is due for an oil change, and that oil is way too clean for a car that needs an oil change. It's an observation I'm making. So it is also going to be here for inspection. Let's make sure the thing's not a rotted out pile of poo, and if it's not, then we'll give our customer our assessment. Well, the van's not a complete rusty turd, so we're going to proceed. Lady said get after it. So we're going to start with the oil pan because that's what it initially came in for. And then they added all the extra stuff to it. So we'll get this draining because it's cold. And I did look up that 522. That is an oil pressure switch code. And these oil pressure switches on these Chryslers are pretty failure prone. And for the price of the switch, it's not even worth really looking into beyond just putting a switch in it. If that makes sense to you. You get a $20 part that you know is quite a common failure. So yeah, I guess technically I'm unloading the parts cannon on it. Mother of pearl! There's that fellow. The oil pressure switch is right here, and the guy, when I was talking to him on the phone, did state that he does have problems with the oil pressure light coming on. However, it's not losing oil pressure because, well, we wouldn't be here today. Well, we would be, but the van wouldn't be. All right, we'll leave that drizzling. oil pressure switch has the infamous red lock tab, which we will likely break or not. But if you do, not a big deal. So unplug it. Got a quick inspection on the wire. And then that just goes in the harness. Okay. We're gonna take and pop this little fella out. Like I say, these are pretty notorious for failing on these Chryslers. I think they set a 521 code also, but this was a 522. Thought I recognized it. Yeah, it's stuck in our socket now. Tighten it back up, get our socket freed up here, hopefully. Well, we'll just take it out all the way and bang it on the bench. How's that sound? Well, she's stuck like Chuck in there. Not no more, baby. So there's that. This is a special oil sending unit socket. I think you can use a regular 1/16", if I remember correctly. So there's that. In order to get the oil pan off, there's a bracket here on the back of the engine. And we're gonna try, give her some mug and nuggets here. There is a water pipe back here, so you gotta kind of be careful of that because that's pretty crusty. And it's got 3 bolts in the back of the engine. There's one. That's the easy one to get to. That one here's a little snugger. Let's see if we can't sneak in here. It's pretty crusty too. Get the socket. Ooh. It came out. The bolt went somewhere else. I think it fell behind the bracket. Yep, there it is. There's that one. And then there's one more. It takes the old 15 mm. You don't have to take this bracket all the way off, but I find it's easier if you do. And that one, that bolt hides way over here by the CV axle. There she is, baby. So there's that. You guys probably can't see anything, but you gotta trust me, fellas. And there's one more here on the bottom. Right up in here. It goes into the bell housing. Oh, easy, easy. Come on, baby. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, there she is. So it's this whole rigmarole here. So that's what that looks like. However, that went there. So these go up on the back of the block. Edge 218's in there. Edge classic 15 and then your 18. So it goes like that. Keeps all the torque of that engine from ripping itself apart, I imagine. We had to take that little fella off because we've got to get this tin cover off here. Hopefully the bolts don't break. They do go into aluminum. Nope. That one came right out nice and easy. Nice and easy. And this little guy should come right off there. Technically. There she is, baby. So now we can get to all the bolts on the oil pan. No problem. All right, so here we go. Just a bunch of bolts, a couple nuts here on the front. They're looking pretty bad. Oh, that one came off. That's good. But I figure worst case scenario, the studs would come out here. No, both of them came out, so that's good. So those are both days nuts. And then just a bunch of bolts. All right, last one here. I don't expect it's gonna hit the floor. All right, we didn't miss any up around the corner. Usually they're stuck okay, but just be careful. Oh, this one's not stuck okay. All right, stand by, my guy, stand by. Remove the Avoca gun there. Get ready for the drips. Oh, don't tell me we gotta take that water pipe off, do we? I hope not, because I didn't buy a new one of those. Oh, we don't, there we go. So that's pretty easy. Let's see if we can't pull the gasket down. Over it here. Doobie doop. Be doobie doop. There it is. Boom. So at this point, we just need to go through and clean it up, which we will use our Astro, your classic 9532 tungsten carbide scraper. You guys know I'm a big fan of the carbide scrapers because they do a wonderful job. Just an application like this is a perfect example. One pass and done. Once you have it all scraped down, we'll bust out some of the brake clean. We'll give it a little toot across there, and we'll get up in there with a wire brush. There's a little bit of silicone on the very ends here and on the front by the timing cover. We just want to make sure that we have that cleaned off well, because we'll put a little dab of silicone back on there just to be sure. There's a little bit right up here also. Okay, we'll hit that with the scraper. It's still a pretty good sized chunk there. Well, the Napa guy showed up with all their stuff. Should be all right. Got an oil pan without level sensor. Boom, so there's that baby. And then we got a new gasket. So we should be good there. Comes with a new O-ring there for the pickup tube, must be. And it comes with the handy little things you want to throw in your toolbox. These little guys right here. So you take these and you thread them in the holes, and then you can stick the gasket up on it, and it holds the gasket on, and then you can click the oil pan up on past them. They're kind of handy to use in certain situations. This one's not too difficult to get at. So stick that on there. That looks like it's good. We'll get a couple dabs of silicone to put on there. Take a little bit of the Toyota FIPG. Perhaps the best black silicone on the market, in my opinion. Just put a little dab where it was from the factory. It's not 100% necessary, but we always do it as a precaution. You don't need a whole lot. You don't need to go all crazy with it. All right, there we go. And then we'll take the pan and gasket all in one assembly here. See if we can't slip it back up in there. I've just got the gasket, sitting on the pan. Slide it right up on there. We'll get it, the two studs there on the end. Come on, where you at, fella? There's one, there's two. So there's that. Now we'll just hold it. This is about the easiest oil pan you'll ever do. And with this type of gasket, it's not really critical that the oil quit dripping or be perfectly dry, other than the two spots that we put the silicone there. So we'll just try to keep holding it up here, and we'll just stick two screws in it, or two bolts in it here lightly, just enough to hold it. That one's a little too hard to turn by hand, so I'll do another one here. Right about there. Don't put it back on with the Ugga gun. I got this thing set right. 105 inch-pounds. These are pretty small fasteners, so use your noodle. I think they're only 6 millimeter. So we'll just skip around here until everybody's tight. And once you're sure you've got them all, just go around and just double check, make darn sure you didn't miss any. All right, we're in good shape. Once you got that all torqued to spec, folks, toss on your Napper Gold oil filter, thread in your new pressure switch that we took out, give it the click, push in the red clip, throw the tin back on here, and then the little bracket on the back of the engine. Now, free tip Friday for you. When you're doing these little guys, never assume that that drain plug in that brand new pan is tight. Always crack it loose and then retighten it just to be sure. And after that, we just got to fill her up with oil, fire it up. However, before we fire it up, we're going to want to toss in some spark plugs and a coil. And if you want to see how that job went, you're going to have to watch the next video. Had a surprising twist, as we'll say. Our oil is full. I'm going to take it, fire it up, we're going to let it warm up, and then we're going to double check it for some leaks. Contact. Right now, it's getting pretty warm, pretty toasty. So that's that, folks, on the oil pan. Now, why didn't I bring you along as I put the oil pressure switch in and threaded on the filter and dumped the oil in and put the bracket on and the tin and all that stuff? Well, it's because this guy's an idiot. Somehow something screwed up camera-wise, and I lost pretty much everything from after I torqued the oil pan, or so it seems. So I had to come out here and kind of fake it and make a little recovery video for you. And at this point, I've already recorded the spark plug. So all I can say to you is stick around for part 2 when we do the spark plugs, because things get, how do you say, interesting, if you know what I mean. So you don't want to miss that. And I don't want to miss your comment in that comment section. So don't go down there and leave me one. Find me on the Insta, the Facebook. You guys know what to do. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.